This is the Dynasty Vipers Vipercast.
Now, when we look at these wide receivers and how they break down, we're going to talk 1 to 12, 13 to 24, 25 through 40, and 41 through 60, unless I lose my placing when we talk about it here. So when we look at 1 through 12, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, Davante Adams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, Jalen Waddle, Garrett Wilson. No big surprises there compared to how the consensus has him. It's all within a couple spots, maybe a little higher on St. Brown. Then Amari Cooper I have at number 12 there, which is considerably higher based on the ADP, and the consensus has him about 4 spots lower than what I got him. And I like Amari Cooper here because I do think this is a bounce back season for Deshaun Watson this season. I think it's because Amari Cooper's got some more help than what he's had there last season. Donovan Peoples-Jones, he's still there, but they've also added Elijah Moore. They also added Cedric Tillman. So there's more pass catchers involved, which will take a lot more attention away from Amari Cooper, which should give him a very productive season. Now, Tara, when you look at the top 12, is there anyone outside of maybe Amari Cooper that you'd probably slide out of there?
No, I think that's fine. My bone to pick comes later with you.
Well, let me hop in real quick because I wouldn't move anyone out, but like, how do we have St. Brown top 5 over AJ Brown? Like,
I like St. Brown better. I think there's a very hear me out there. I think you're talking 2 very good offenses.
And Tyreek Hill. So Tyreek Hill and AJ Brown. How are you going to put those 2 guys underneath St. Brown?
AJ Brown's problem is Devontae Smith is going to be that guy from time to time. There's weeks where Devontae Smith is going to be the better of the 2 wide receivers. We've seen that last season. It's not a surprise. For the Detroit Lions, another top offense, much like the Eagles, Amon-Ra St. Brown is that alpha wide receiver. Yes, Gibbs is going to get his. Jameson Williams is going to miss time beginning of the season. This is PPR, so we are going to feed Amon-Ra St. Brown, and that's why St. Brown is that guy who gets into the top 5. Now, Tyreek Hill is a guy I think you could make an argument for top 5 status, as he is 2 spots lower in the consensus rankings compared to where I have him, but I think that's kind of where that argument is. Now, where it gets interesting is when we get into that next tier of the grouping here, 13 through 24, there's some wide receivers here that you could make a legitimate argument should be in that top 12. One of them happens to be number 13, T. Higgins, where a lot of people have him considerably higher, and I can't blame him. Chris Olave comes in at 14. And then I got to get a little crazy here with Drake London. I talked about, I'm talking about this is going to be the year that Drake London may not get the targets, but he's going to be efficient with the ones that he has. And that is what this Arthur Smith offense is going to be like. A.J. Brown didn't have a whole hell of a lot of catches when he was putting up big-time fantasy seasons in Tennessee. But what he was able to do with those catches, with those touches, was manufacture fantasy production. And I think that's what you're going to have here with Drake London. That's why I'm considerably higher than him, with him coming in number 15, where the consensus has about 8 spots lower. So I'm much higher on Drake London. I think this is going to be his breakout season. That doesn't mean Desmond Ridder is going to have a great season. That just means that Drake London is going to be efficient with his opportunities. That said, number 16 is one of my guys, and it is Christian Kirk. We saw what he did last season when he was healthy. He was a top 12 wide receiver last season. So before people start shaking their head at me having that 16, which I think may still be too low, that is still 14 spots higher than the consensus. 14 spots higher. The consensus has a top 12 wide receiver from last season at like number 30. That makes no sense to me. Consensus has it wrong. Christian Kirk needs to be much higher. Terry McLaurin at number 17. Devontae Smith at number 18. Jerry Jeudy at 20. Brandon Ayuk is above Deebo Samuel because he's coming in number 20. DK Metcalf at 21, Samuel at 22, Tyler Lockett at 23. And we talked about Jacksonville being able to sling that ball around the whole field there. How about Calvin Ridley at 24 in his return to the National Football League? Now, Major, where are these bones you got to pick?
I think Tara, I seen her face. I think we made the same face. I'm gonna let Tara go ahead because all these receivers at this point to me is like mambo jumbo. They're all, you can interchange all of them. But yeah, you got kind of crazy on a couple of them. Like, yeah, go ahead, Chara.
I mean, first off, like the big thing for me is the Devonta Smith disrespect there. You got to raise it up. I understand that maybe you don't believe it will stick. I know I don't think I understand it now that I just kind of
Don't try.
even
Yeah.
start speaking. Like I don't think you can look at his numbers from the first half of the season when they were still making adjustments in terms of working both of those receivers in. I mean, there were times where Devonta Smith was acting as then this is no disrespect to AJ Brown because I'm not disagreeing with the AJ Brown ranking. That's right about where I have him. But Devonta Smith is, it's not even a 1A, 1B, it's 1A and it's 1A, like slightly right there behind him. I mean,
1AA.
yeah, like it's just, I can't get behind that. I'm comfortable if I'm heading into a draft and depending on my position, if I'm taking Devonta Smith as my wide receiver 1, I wouldn't mind that. Now granted, I wouldn't, I don't like to go running back heavy, but if, something called for that, maybe I took Travis Kelce or something, I don't know. But he is a comfortable low-end wide receiver 1. So I think that he needs to be moved up higher. He's right on that little wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 cusp. So that's, a big issue for me. I love Brandon Ayuk. I do. I do not believe that offense will give him the volume that he needs to have in order to justify him being a wide receiver 2, unfortunately. And I hate that for him. They push volume towards Debo. They push touchdowns towards Brandon Ayuk. So unfortunately, the level of inconsistency that you see there, you might see a solid 30 yards from him and 2 touchdowns. Weird, like the way that they utilize him is just not in the way that, is consistent enough from a fantasy perspective. They believe in him. They like him. The utilization is just not fantasy football friendly.
Yeah, I thought you were going to get on Christian Kirk. Like,
yeah, that too.
I like Christian Kirk, but you have him way too high. You can't. How's a wide receiver 2 going to be ranked higher than their wide receiver 1? Like,
because he was a wide receiver run. He was a top 12 wide receiver. You just gave me crap for having Ramondre Stevenson from running back 10 last season to running back 13, but now you want to put Christian Kirk as a wide receiver 12 all the way back down to wide receiver 30.
Zay Jones was eating more than Christian Kirk in some of these games. So you have Calvin Ridley there that's going to do more. And you know what I mean? Everyone's going to eat, but it's going to be so inconsistent. There's going to be one game that Calvin's the guy, is going to be one game that Christian's the guy, is going to be another game that Zay's the guy, is going to be one game when they got too many options. So I don't think he's going to have the volume to be ranked this high.
I don't think Zay is going to be the guy with Calvin Ridley there. I think it's Zay Jones's production that's going to dip at the expense because of Calvin Ridley. I don't think Christian Kirk's numbers are going to change a whole heck of a lot. In fact, they may get better because teams have to focus on Calvin Ridley. If I'm an opposition defensive coordinator, I'm not as worried about Zay Jones as I am if Calvin Ridley returns to what he was in Atlanta. You remember, he's missing a season there. It's going to take him a little while to kind of get back. Christian Kirk is going to put in those numbers there to begin. It doesn't matter if you're young or not. If a rookie comes into the season, he's still going to struggle the first 6 weeks, right? If he misses the first 6 weeks of the season, you can almost write off that season for the Rook. So
Zay Jones is Trevor Lawrence's favorite receiver in that offense. That's like his best friend.
So Zay will be the wide receiver 3 in that offense, but he will perform better than Marvin Jones did as the wide receiver 3 because that, in terms of who can put up those numbers, unfortunately Marvin a little old in the tooth. But so this one's tough because I get it, Matt, like Christian Kirk, again, when I look at Christian Kirk and Chris Godwin, and I don't think there's going to be inconsistency there. I think that offense is going to be firing on all cylinders. I think they both have legitimate top 12 upside for real. So I don't have a problem with the Christian Kirk ranking. I would just never do it because there's no logical need for me to take him at number 16 when like you can sit on back and wait. So I'm comfortable with Christian Kirk. Yeah. Or no. I mean, I would still like Christian Kirk because I do think that the volume is going to be there. I like both of them. I just wouldn't draft him there.
Yeah.
See, I can respect that opinion because like you said, you could probably sit back because we look at whether the consensus has him. They got him going off as wide receiver 30. So in your head, you're thinking friends and family type leagues. This is one of those players that I really, really like that I could sit back on. But if you get into these leagues with some other guys that are really into it, so to speak, like maybe guys like me, you're not going to be able to wait on a Christian Kirk because I'm probably going to jump the shark on him because I like to get my guys, especially if I'm in one of these leagues where I feel there's a bunch of sharks swimming around with me. I'm like, no, I can't risk it not getting my guy. So, I mean, I think it really depends with Christian Kirk what type of league you're in, what the knowledge is, and whose rankings a lot of people are running off of. If people are like, okay, yeah, you know what, wide receiver 30, I could probably get him in round 8, round 9 of my fantasy draft. Great. I'm probably grabbing him in round 6, round 5, possibly, depending on what my roster construction looks like. Now, with that all being said, moving on from 25 to 40, again, it gets interesting here, and I wanted to kind of mention I got both DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett both in the top 24, even with Jackson Smith and Jigba. I do think that we are calling for the death of Tyler Lockett too early once again.
Too early. Yeah.
I mean, Tyler Lockett, Twinkies, cockroaches, and Tyler Lockett. That's what's going to survive the end of the world. That's exactly what's going to happen. Now, 25 is DJ Moore. 26 is Keenan Allen. 27, DeAndre Hopkins. 28, Marquise Hollywood Brown. 29, Christian Watson, who I'm a little bit lower on than most, but that's because I'm a little higher on someone else, which we'll get into a little bit later. Chris Godwin at 30. 31 is Deontay Johnson. Dude, Deontay Johnson should be a lot higher on a lot of lists because the only thing holding him back last season is he didn't score a touchdown. 140-some targets, 0 touchdowns. How is that even possible? I don't know. I'm not expecting that to happen again this season. At 32, Mike Evans. At 33, we're going to bring another rookie in here, Jordan Addison, who I think is going to be the highest scoring rookie wide receiver this season. I like Addison above JSN in redraft only. 34, Mike Williams. Man, I wish the dude could stay healthy. Michael Pittman at 35. Gabe Davis, who I'm tempted to bring him even lower because I just can't get behind Gabe Davis. He's one of those guys, he is so boom or bust. Right. I feel 36 is right, but I feel like I should be dropping him. So he's one of those guys that could drop real quick. 37 is Kadarius Toney, another guy that has the potential to go higher, but he's got the hamstrings to go a lot lower. 38, Jahan Dotson. 39, Treylon Burks. And at 40, JSN himself, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Major, looking at that number there from 25 through 40, how are you feeling about that?
It's not bad. There's some big names. There's a lot of receivers in the league, man. This is
why
league.
I know a lot of people are in this whole zero RB thing. And you know what? That's great. If you want to go zero RB, I hope my whole league goes zero RB because I'm going to go robust RB because once you get out of round 3 and out of round 4, the running backs dry up. And as you can see, Major, you just pointed out this. We're 40 wide receivers deep. And you're like, dude, I mean, Jackson Smith and Jigba is not a bad wide receiver to get at wide receiver 40.
Man,
and
if I can grab DJ Moore at 25, because I think he's going to have like a same kind of effect that Cooper Kupp has, where he's the only option really in that offense. Yes, they have some other guys there. I get it, but you don't go out and get DJ Moore the way they did and don't give him the ball. You get what I'm saying? So I think they're going to really force the issue there. And he showed you he can play. He can put up numbers with pretty much nothing at quarterback. So I think that's the only one I feel like you're kind of low on. When you said Michael Pittman at 35, I was like, whoa, that was crazy. And I looked, I was like, So I feel it. And Jahan Dotson, I think that's really one of my sleepers this season. I think he's going to have his breakout season. Man, it's like I said, and Christian Watson, that's one of my guys. I think this is way too low on him. He already shown he's a touchdown machine. You have a new quarterback in there, and they both were kind of like rookies around the same time. So they're both ran on the second team. So there's some familiarity there. I can't even talk anymore. But yeah, I think they're familiar with each other, and I think he's going to be like that safety blanket for Love there in Green Bay. I know you like somebody else out there. I'm gonna leave that for you. Yeah, but the DJ Moore one and the Christian Watson, and man, there's so many good receivers. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't, but having Kansas City wide receiver 1 this low, that's kind of crazy to me as well. Like, you know what I mean? So, but I don't think you got it wrong. It's just like that's the way the the cards fell.
Yeah, I mean, Kadarius Toney's a guy that go a lot higher, or he can go a lot lower. I mean, and that's just the truth when it comes down to Kadarius Toney. Tara, do you have issues with that 25 through 40?
Yeah, I'm very different on Michael Pittman, but we don't even have to go into that. You guys
Right.
already know. Gabe Davis, I would drop him even lower.
Yeah, that's exactly what we were talking about. He's the one guy that I'm a scorned lover when it comes to fantasy, and Gabe Davis is a guy I was never that high on, and he's given me more reasons not to like him than to like him here in the last couple seasons. And then obviously the addition of Dalton Kincaid is going to factor into things in Buffalo, whether you like to or not. So he's the one guy I'm looking at this list and I'm like, you know what? I think I got him at least 10 spots too high right now.
Yeah.
Traylon Burks, that one's a little shocking to me. I mean, you talked about that, now granted, Arthur Smith is gone, but you kind of referenced that Tennessee offense and they haven't really changed the way that they operate. And the only reason Traylon Burks didn't really perform up to expectations is because they limited him severely in terms of snap count and opportunities. So seeing that change and them, designating him as the clear wide receiver one and that offense, I like Traylon Burks a lot this year. So I'm a lot higher on him.
Yeah, there's two targets in Tennessee that I like, and Traylon Burks is my second favorite target in this offense. So we'll talk about that on another portion of the show. Now, when we look at 41 through 60, it gets interesting because there's a lot of my guys in this range. Jacoby Myers comes to mind at 41, and his ranking this high is because, like I said, I don't believe Hunter Renfrow is going to be a Raider post June 1st. Then we got Darnell Mooney, who I think makes a better number 2 than a number 1. And he could surprise a lot of people. He absolutely balled out there when Allen Robinson was in Chicago there. So I think this is one of those things that Darnell Mooney could go a lot higher. I got him obviously a lot higher than consensus, 7 spots higher, 12 spots higher than his current ADP. And I feel like he's one of those guys that could rise up as the season progresses, especially with DJ Moore. And if this offense does get clicking, like Tara thinks that it can get going there under Justin Fields. Rashad Bateman at 43. George Pickens, I'm a lot lower on. I mean, the guy's got talent. He oozes talent. He can make super awesome catches. That's all fine and dandy. We just haven't been able to see him put it all together. And Kenny Pickett, honestly, I think he had the least amount of explosive passing plays last season in the National Football League. When you got an explosive type wide receiver, you need to have explosive type passing plays, and we never got that. At 45, Zay Flowers, I think he's a difference maker. At 46, Juju Smith-Schuster, a guy that I still think I'm probably too high on here, but this is probably just going back years and years worth. Oh, wait, that's exactly where the consensus has him right now as well. At number 47, Cortland Sutton. At number 48, Elijah Moore. At number 49, I'm a little bit lower on Brandon Cooks. I'm hoping he comes out and has a bigger season this season. At 50, DJ Chark with Carolina, man. I think with Bryce Young, he's going to be that guy to stretch the field. I'm a lot higher on him. At 51, and I got Jameson Williams here, and I think I might have to bring him down because of that suspension. I don't know if he can make up enough ground, but at least at the wide receiver position, you can make up that ground as far as fantasy production is concerned. At 52, Tyler Boyd, a guy that needs an opportunity elsewhere, I think, than Cincinnati. 53, Quentin Johnson. At number 54, and this is probably the biggest jump I have compared to the consensus, compared to ADP, and this is because I want this to happen. Yeah. Go to my vision board, and I'm going to put on a John Metchie III. Moving on up here, people. John Metchie III, and it's not because of a lack of talent, because we know that this guy can flat out fly, and we know that CJ Stroud can flat out throw the ball. You get Stroud out there, you get Metchie, and you know what? Nico Collins is there. Robert Woods is there. Dalton Schultz is there. There's other options to work underneath. That means Metchie's allowed to go deep and make some plays. I love Metchie. At 55, Rashid Shaheed comes in here. Like top five rookie season when it came to yards per route run last season that nobody talks about. 56, Rondale Moore. 57, I hate you, Alan Lazard. 58, Michael Thomas. 59, again, this is why Christian Watson's so low. I believe in Jaden Reed and his talent and what he can do for this Green Bay offense. I got him 48 spots higher right now than the consensus. I guarantee that the consensus is going to catch up leading up to week number 1. At number 60, Zay Jones as a wide receiver 3 in Jacksonville. Tara, your eyebrows raised a little bit on Jaden Reed. What do you got?
It's not a knock on him. I don't think it affects Christian Watson. It's two very different roles. Jayden Reed's going to be in the slot. He's filling a massive gap for the Packers. I don't think that you can look at that and say Jayden Reed is going to be taking away from Christian Watson, because they're going to be running two completely separate ways.
Was Jordan Reed, is he going to be considered the Cobb in that offense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jayden Reed's going to be whatever Jordan Love wants him to be. In college, he could run the X, he can run the flanker, he can run the slot. Wherever you want to put him, he's going to be that guy. Now, the thing with Green Bay is they have two big tight ends that they also drafted, which could change where you're going to line them up. If they run 12 personnel or 11 personnel in Green Bay, that could change things up as well.
And I'm surprised.
He can. I say that at the NFL level, whether or not he can do that, that's another story. But I just don't think they will when you look at the way the offense is set up and the need that they had to fill. You mentioned the tight ends. We've got Christian Watson, got Romeo Doubs, who's also a big guy as well. So, I mean, when we're just looking at how Jayden Reed fits into that offense, I think he's going to be a good, PPR volume target in the slot. But yeah, I don't think that it's going to be affecting Christian Watson.
I think when we get to the end of the season, Jayden Reed's closer to wide receiver 1 on this team than he is wide receiver 3. I didn't say he's going to be wide receiver 1, but I want to say the gap between him and Watson is going to be a lot closer than Reed and potentially Romeo Doubs.
Yeah, you skipped over that, but I'm really surprised that your man Jacoby Myers is this low, especially with a quarterback who's going to check down to him every play. If he's not throwing
for the Raiders, this should have been my wide receiver 1 of the season. I'm throwing bets on it and wax my chest.
Exactly. Yeah,
those bets will come out here before the end of the season. Don't you worry about that.
Yeah,
I'll be moving him up because we get closer and closer. But like I said, still 4 spots higher than consensus, 12 spots higher than his current ADP is currently going at. But yeah, me. I love
Shaheed. He should be way higher. He has a little nickname already. Let's just go. And like you were saying earlier about being in leagues, I'm in a few dynasty leagues with some sharks. These dudes study football. People are agent. I have him in that people kind of slept on him. Same thing with John Minchie. People kind of forgot about it. Got all the shares, but I think he's going to be big in his offense. He's going to be in a slot. Then we're going to move him around a little bit. He's going to run those deep balls. And CJ is going to show that he can throw the ball a little bit. Rookie quarterbacks like to show off they can throw the ball long. So I think he's going to have some really big plays. He's going to have some top 5 wide receiver. I take it back. Top 10 wide receiver performances in the season. So I think you're kind of low on them. And again, DJ Moore is one of those dudes I really like. I think he's going to do something. I think that's it for that list. I like Reed too, but I don't think he's going to be. I think this is going to be Watson's offense.
Well, I can't wait to see how this shakes down. I don't know if he catches him this season, but I really do believe in the talent that Reed has, and I think he's going to be the better wide receiver, dynasty-wise, for the Green Bay Packers for sure. When it's all said and done.
Put some respect on Zay Jones' name too. You got him below Allen Lazard. What's going on, bro?
Hey, I got him at number 60. That's only 1 spot lower than the ADP, man. One spot lower.
Allen Lazard?
I know. I just think him and Aaron Rodgers still got a thing for one another. It's going to pay off somewhat. I don't know. It's Allen Lazard. I really hate Allen Lazard altogether. I just felt like I needed to put him on the list just to say I hate him. Really. That's how that all broke down. That all being said, there's the wide receiver rankings. You could take a look at that. You can screenshot that. You can save it for your fantasy drafts. But when it's all said and done, there's no big surprises. 1 through 11, Jefferson, Kupp, Chase, Adams, St. Brown, Tyreek Hill, Diggs, Lamb, A.J. Brown, Jalen Waddle, Garrett Wilson. At 12, we got Amari Cooper. 13 through 20, it looks like T. Higgins, Chris Olave, Drake London, a little bit higher. Christian Kirk, that got me and Major a little excited on the show. Terry McLaurin, Devontae Smith, that Taro thinks should be in the top 13 at least. And it's hard to argue because he did have a productive back end of the season there with A.J. Brown, Jerry Jeudy, and Brandon Ayuk, who I think is going to be the more effective of the 2 pass catchers there in San Francisco. That all being said, you're going to want to make sure you check out our tight ends, which is coming up next.